Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So by the end of this month, or perhaps even in early July, a huge decision is coming up, which could give some people who are currently receiving Social Security beneficiaries, whether that be retirees, SSI or SSDI, a $10,000 payment in relief, and perhaps even a little bit higher than that even for some people. So we're going to be discussing that. Also, a recent Republican who threw his hat into the ring to face off against Trump in the Republican primary also continues to float cuts for Social Security as well. So we're going to be discussing his plan. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so of course, by the end of September of this year, they need to make sure that the government is funded for fiscal year of 2024. And right now, it looks like we might be headed towards another debate, just like in the debt ceiling. And we could, after all, end up having a government shutdown. And this is something that has actually happened in the past, and I really wouldn't be surprised if it ends up happening this year, given that Republicans and Democrats can't really seem to agree on anything. And one of those things happens to be tax reform. Now, Republicans want to make Trump's tax cuts permanent. Democrats are very much against this, but recently they may actually be using something as a bargaining chip that could help out a lot of American families. And that thing happens to be the expanded child tax credit, in which they hope to make permanent. So in exchange for some of the tax reforms that Republicans want to make, in exchange for that, Democrats are saying, hey, if we go along with this, we can be okay with it as long as we include the expanded child tax credit. And that would mean for Americans with children under the age of 6, that would be $300 monthly payments. And for children between the ages of 6 and 17, that would be $250 payments. And they also want to include one more huge payment for families with newborns. In the first year, you would receive a check of $2,000 plus those monthly payments of $300. So with the $300 monthly payments over a year, that's $3,600 plus the $2,000 payment. So it would be $5,600 in your baby's first year. So that's something that is being talked about. So according to Go Banking Rates, child tax credit could be the stimulus payment used as a bargaining chip for tax reform. Could payments come close to $300 a month? So congressional Democrats are once again pursuing an expanded child tax credit that would give qualifying households extra money each month, similar to the enhanced CTC included in the 2021 American Rescue Plan Act. Although past efforts to revive the credit have failed, there's a chance this one could succeed, even though Republicans controlled the U.S. House. The reason has to do with the current GOP efforts to push through tax reforms. As Punchbowl News reported, House Republicans have mobilized around an ambitious package of tax cuts, just as Senate Democrats have introduced legislation that would make the enhanced child tax credit permanent. Although the two sides typically disagree on both tax reform and entitlement programs, they might be willing to negotiate a compromise that would give the GOP its tax cuts and the Dems their expanded CTC. According to Congressional Budget Office estimates, permanently extending the American Rescue Plan's CTC would roughly cost $105 billion a year. So that's going to cost money to do this. So some Republicans are going to be against this plan. Now we have a lot of Republicans who are okay with that, but they want to have certain work requirements where you have to earn a certain amount of money per year in order to receive these credits. Whereas Democrats, on the other hand, say that there should be no work requirements and you shouldn't have to earn any amount per year to receive these credits, that even the poorest of families should also be eligible for these $250 to $300 monthly payments. Now, let me know what your thoughts are on this in the comments section below. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier on in today's video, a very important decision is coming up by the Supreme Court. This is expected to come either later on this month, even as early as Thursday of this week, and if not then, perhaps in early July. That's because the Supreme Court is going to be going on their middle of the year recess. So they hope to have this decision behind them while they go on recess. We'll just have to wait and see. It's very huge. It's coming up. And that happens to be student loan forgiveness. Now, while you think of student loan forgiveness, if you remember, Joe Biden had student loan forgiveness of $10,000 to $20,000 depending on whether or not you had a Pell Grant. If you had a Pell Grant, you'd be eligible for the full $20,000. If not, it would be just $10,000. Now, when you think of student loan forgiveness, you think of, younger kids, maybe someone who is between the ages of, let's say, like 24 to maybe 35 or something like that. But actually, a lot of people who have student loans are actually, older age groups who went to college, took out a student loan, but never just ended up paying it off, because loans are a lot of money and we have other priorities. We have to raise our children. We have to put food on the table. We have to pay our rent or mortgage. We have to pay for medicine. Life is very expensive. So obviously student loans come very low on the priority list. This is something that most Americans are really actively trying to pay off. So we have a lot of people who are receiving Social Security benefits who still have student loans as high as $20,000 or even more. So if this student loan forgiveness goes through, obviously that's going to impact Social Security beneficiaries in a big way, because a lot of what they're receiving in their check, unfortunately, they had to put right back into their loan. And if they end up defaulting, the federal government can actually garnish a lot of these Social Security wages. I believe it's up to 25%, or there's a maximum, I believe it is $750. Now, if we look at the chart up on the screen here, we can see the average remaining student loan debt by age group from age 20 all the way up to 90 plus. And the average student debt by someone 90 plus is $21,500. For someone in their 70s, it's $28,800. Someone in their 60s is $33,800. And as a note here, the average student debt by age for those between the ages of 62 plus happens to be $40,750. So obviously, this student loan debt relief would help out a lot of people. And again, when you think of student loans, you think of someone who is, say like 25 to 30. But no, it's very apparent here that even people who receive Social Security benefits, this is going to impact them in a huge way if they have this debt relief. Meanwhile, we have the Republican presidential primary heating up right now. Of course, Donald Trump is the front runner. Ron DeSantis happens to be in second place. And then there's pretty much everyone else, and then included in that everyone else category happens to be Christie. Yesterday, he came out and said if he was going to be the president, which is very unlikely that he's going to even be the Republican candidate, he said that if he happened to be president, he would be pushing for cuts to Social Security. And among those cuts happened to be raising the full retirement age from 67 to 69, and he would also introduce means testing. And basically what this means is if you receive a lot of money through Social Security because you made a lot of money throughout your working career, your benefits would actually be reduced, and that perhaps people who earn the least amount of money could actually earn a little bit more. Now, I think a lot of people could actually get on board with that idea, but as far as raising the full retirement age from 67 to 69, I don't think too many Americans would be all that happy. But according to CNBC, Christie floats Social Security cuts, slams Trump over crazy stuff in documents case. So former New Jersey Governor Christie said Tuesday that the U.S. leaders need to deal with Social Security and vowed not to shy away from entitlement reform if he becomes the 2024 Republican presidential nominee. He said, quote, "We have to look at things like means testing for the very wealthy who don't need to get Social Security," Christie said on CNBC's Squawk Box. And secondly, for people in their 30s and 40s, we need to consider, raising the retirement age. Now, again, I think the first idea a lot of people could get on board with. For someone, like Jeff Bezos, who probably doesn't need to receive a Social Security check every single month, he definitely doesn't need to receive the full benefit. I mean, he might argue that he deserves it because he pays Social Security tax every year throughout his working career, or, any other, multi-millionaire, billionaire, think like Warren Buffett, or really anyone like Donald Trump, for example. Donald Trump hasn't even filed for Social Security benefits, even though he is eligible. Joe Biden has filed, even though he's doing very well. He's receiving monthly benefits. But do people who are millionaires, multi-millionaires, really need any Social Security at all? So I think a lot of Americans probably could get on board with the fact that, millionaires probably don't need the full benefit. Maybe they could receive a little bit less. I don't think they're going to struggle in any way. And then perhaps people who earn the least amount of money every single month through their Social Security check, perhaps we could boost their benefit up a little bit and help them out in return for the cuts for the very wealthy. But as far as the second plan of raising the full retirement age, up to 69 for someone who is in their 30s and 40s now. I don't think this is going to go over too well. 67 is already old enough as it is. It's a lot of people who work manual labor jobs. They have bad back, bad knees, joints are just, it's hard. It would be very difficult to make someone continue to work all the way to the age of 69. So I don't think a lot of Americans would be on board with that. I'm personally not, but let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below and everything in this video. But that's all the news that we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.